you so much for the invitation. This is such an important initiative in such an important subject, and I hope will have a wonderful workshop today. Now, I'm afraid that I'm going to confirm everything that Professor Ketikidis has said so far, and I would like to underline before starting my presentation the absence of a European strategy with regard to the protection of the best interests of the child. I know that the European Commission is preparing a strategy right now, and we'll soon hear more about it, but still we'll have to maybe introduce more indicators, more milestones in order for all the member states to comply to UNCRC. Now, as Mrs. Ververido already said, I'm going to share with you an overview of what's going on in Greece right now at the moment. And I hope it's sufficient for you to get a first idea about the main deficiencies and the outstanding problems that we have to deal with every day in the Greek Ombudsman, but also in several other services. So before doing that, we will have to introduce ourselves. So the Department of Children's Rights intervenes by handling complaints submitted by children, parents, teachers, NGOs, even public services, regarding a broad range of violations related to all articles of the Convention. Through advocacy interventions, that means introduction and amendment of the existing legal framework and implementation and compliance to UNCRC, through through inspections in juvenile correctional institutions, prisons, children's institutions, hotspots, camps, etc. We always discuss with children. We visit schools on a weekly basis, so we always discuss our children, and we have our own youth council every year that gives us a clear idea about what children think. We issue our reports to inform the public and raise awareness around UNCRC. And we supervise and coordinate 2 networks that consist of NGOs and actors and international organizations such as UNICEF and UNHCR. One of them is related to today's discussion because it is related to alternative care. So this is what we do in general, and since the map of all our interventions, our so-called constitution is the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, I would like to start by sharing the articles of the Convention that are related to this day's discussion. Just to underline and stress the fact that this discussion is related to different aspects of the Convention. So first of all, Article 3 of the UNCRC stipulates that in all actions concerning children, the best interests of the child shall be a primary consideration. Article 4 is related to the general measures of implementation, and we will see step by step whether Greece has complied with Article 4 in our discussion. Article 19, of course, stipulates that states parties shall take all appropriate legislative, administrative, social, and educational measures to protect the child from all forms of physical and mental violence. Article 20 provides that a child temporarily or permanently deprived of his or her family environment shall be entitled to special protection and assistance provided by the state. It is the same article that gives us an idea about what the priorities are when we are discussing alternative care. So the placement of a child in an institution is an ultima ratio. Okay, so it's a last resort for the Convention. Article 16 that provides that no child shall be subjected to arbitrary or unlawful interference with his or her privacy, family, home or correspondence, etc. And Article 12, of course, that is very important, obviously, to us in the Greek Ombudsman, that stipulates that state parties shall assure to the child who is capable of forming his or her own views the right to express those views freely in all matters affecting the child. So this is the legal framework. And I have to also underline the fact that Greece has incorporated UNCRC since 1992. So this is a national law. Okay, so as Professor already mentioned, general factors and deficiencies that undermine the best interests principle in Greece are the following. We have an evident fragmentation of initiatives and the absence of a medium long-term coherent strategy for the rights of the child. Now, the fragmentation is also, let's say, accompanied by a lot of one-off projects, that do not contribute to the building of a robust, coherent child protection system, that are funded either by the European Union, either by other sources, but still they are completely fragmented. Now, we have the lack of coordination between the competent ministries, the underinvestment in social policy and education in general. I've got more detailed data on this one, but I do not think that it is something that we should discuss today. And of course, insufficient implementation of legislation. We have many laws since 1975 in Greece, but I'm afraid that a lot of them are not properly implemented. We have, of course, the outstanding issue of domestic violence, especially throughout the days of COVID crisis and the restriction measures. You can see here the calls to the helpline and the from March to April of 2020. So you can see the increase, the sudden increase in the calls and the percentage of domestic child abuse, which is the pink part of the pie. Now, I'm afraid that does not actually reflect the phenomenon of domestic violence in Greece. Official data indicate a significant increase, but do not correspond to the actual impact. 7 out of 10 calls were made by victims, but as you know, children, because of their love and their trust and their fear and their guilt, cannot easily ask for help because they rarely identify abuse as such. So they tend to perceive abuse not as a violation, but as an extension of the relationship. So reaching out is difficult with children in the context of crisis when minors are not already trained and properly informed on the rights and the necessary steps to take when violations occur. So this is very important. So the practice so far when abuse occurs is the following. If the prosecutor decides that the child has to be removed from the family environment, the child's removal is followed by its placement in a hospital, in some cases for several months. Now, the child within this context testifies several times to the authorities, up to 14 times. In the majority of cases, the child ends up in an institution referred by the hospital, not by the social service of the municipality where the family has the residence. And the hospital social services, of course, does not have sufficient knowledge of the child's individual needs, and therefore the referral is taking place without proper assessment. In cases of sexual abuse, we also have a high risk of media exposure of children. So let's start with the first thematic, with children's houses, in order to protect children from multiple testimonies. Now, children's houses in Greece were first introduced in 2017, so 4 years now, by law 4478, but because of several administrative obstacles and severe delays, they do not operate yet. The provision and ministerial decision that followed provided for a child-friendly interdisciplinary model of forensic interview of the child victim to avoid multiple testimonies within the context of judicial procedure, such as the one in Iceland, such as the one in Bulgaria, such as the one in Turkey, such as the one in so many other countries. But they do not, as I said, operate yet in Greece. Instead of investing in and promoting these services, the state still implements practices related to the previous status quo before the introduction of the new legal framework. Now, as you can understand, children are traumatized and re-traumatized by repeated examinations and testimonies, and ultimately, children are trapped in the victim's identity. They cannot easily leave that behind. Now, the Ombudsman has recently issued a report with its findings and recommendations to the competent Ministry of Justice, and we're still waiting for the official response. Now, institutions is the other aspect in Greece of the secondary victimization of children. Now, institutions in Greece are the main form of alternative care, even though, as I mentioned before, the placement of a child in an institution is ultima ratio, the last resort. Institutions in Greece are either private, public, or belong to the church, and no national standards have been established regarding their function. So each one operates in a completely different way. Most of them are understaffed, and no systematic, mandatory, and continuous training for professionals is provided. Now, a large part of society in Greece, and that also has to be added in this discussion, is not aware of the actual impact of institutions on children and approves their operation. So family-type alternative care, and especially foster care, is completely underdeveloped in Greece and does not work properly. We do not have a sufficient number of applications. So there is this question that we have to answer now, and we shouldn't come back to that. Can some institutions be good? Now, there are some institutions, according to our inspections and our observations, that operate in a better way than others, but no institution is good for children. That has to be clear. Young children placed in institutional care are at risk of harm in terms of attachment disorder and developmental delays in many areas, social, behavioral, cognitive. The lack of a one-to-one relationship, which is essential for our development, everyone's development, with a primary caregiver, is a major cause of harm to children in residential care. The neglect and damage bibliography and all researches point out that is equivalent to violence within institutions, and deinstitutionalization policies must be implemented in Greece as well. Now, the Ombudsman has recently issued a special report with its recommendations on the matter, and we are still waiting for the response of the state, and that means that we need a deadline that signifies the abandonment of this paradigm, of this model completely, and the shift to another model of alternative care, family-based mostly. Now, we also have the role of media in secondary victimization of children. Now, despite the fact, again, that the legal framework exists, we have this presidential decree, for whom is interested, 77 of 2003, that is often bypassed or violated. So media often expose personal data regarding child abuse, personal details, and therefore child is identified by its peers and its community in general as the victim. And that, of course, completely undermines its resilience and its ability to reconstruct its identity in a proper way. Now, the Ombudsman has intervened several times. Many of them were successful, but not before the exposure of personal data of the child to the public. Now, a few more details. What about protection by community services? After abuse, many families need a follow-up, and that has to be discussed, and it is a part of preventing this, the further victimization of the child. Now, this is, as you can see, the number of social workers per municipality. We have 14 municipalities, and I apologize for the Greek, but what you can see is the name of the Greek municipalities. These are the largest in population municipalities in Greece. You can see the left bar, which is the overall number of the social workers in the municipalities, and the right bar, which is the number of social workers involved in children's protection. You can see that there is no uniform practice, and you can see that these services are considered to be understaffed and do not operate under a uniform framework of responsibilities and protocols. Of course, specialized systematic training is also here not provided to our social workers. Now, these are the prosecutor's orders for investigation per municipality, and the blue bar you can see is the municipality of Athens, and the second one, the orange one, is the municipality of Thessaloniki. So you can see the number of prosecutors' orders. In many cases, the social services report that the families need a follow-up. But the municipality of Athens said that even though more than 100 families need follow-up and proper support, vulnerable families, only 20 of them can receive such because of the problems I just mentioned. And finally, this is the number of psychologists per municipality, and it's important for the support of children. You can see the low number per municipality. I don't have to say again, the blue one is the municipality of Athens, and the orange one, the municipality of Thessaloniki. The number in local government services is not sufficient, but furthermore, in mental health services, the staff is insufficient as well. And these services are also disproportionately distributed in the country. Therefore, they cannot cover the needs of the child to support the child to its further development after the incident and the report, the complaint of abuse. Now in order to connect these dots and to build a child-centered approach and a new paradigm, we would definitely need a coherent, robust strategy for children's rights. We would need staffing and uniform protocols and training in services. We would definitely need the operation, not the legislation, but the operation of children's houses, and the proper supervision and training of journalists and other media staff. So this was the overview, and thank you very much.